Are your conscious thoughts really your own? Or is your sense of truth an automated response, specifically designed by predictive algorithms to keep you scrolling? To understand what is happening to our collective attention, we have to look closely at the hardware. The human brain is an ancient biological processor. It was calibrated over hundreds of thousands of years for a Pleistocene environment, defined by scarce information and physical danger. Now it operates inside a synthetic digital ecosystem it never evolved to handle. This animated diagram illustrates a rapid threat detection center deep in your limbic system, the amygdala. When you encounter emotionally salient stimuli, like a rustling bush or an angry face, that signal bypasses your prefrontal cortex, which is the logical, reasoning part of your brain. The amygdala processes the danger and triggers a fight or flight response in just 12 milliseconds. But as the diagram updates, the biological mismatch becomes clear. We have swapped the physical predators of the savanna for the push notification. Algorithms hit that exact same low-road neural pathway with a rapid-fire barrage of stimuli, completely overloading the amygdala and preventing the prefrontal cortex from stepping in to apply context or impulse control. In our ancestral environment, that initial spike of fear was followed by a crucial window to evaluate if the threat was actually real. Modern algorithmic feeds fire so fast they eradicate that pause entirely. The result is that heavy users are no longer making deliberate choices about what to consume. They enter a state of automated fight or flight, chronically reacting to an artificial environment built to overwhelm their biology. The recommendation engines of today have evolved far past simple collaborative filtering, where platforms just suggested things similar to what you previously clicked. We are now dealing with reinforcement learning engines that actively forecast your emotional state, surfacing content engineered to elicit a reaction before you realize it. To these systems, human attention is entirely quantifiable. It is a mathematical reward signal. Every dwell time, every like, and every angry comment updates the model. Over time, the algorithm learns exactly which inputs keep you in a state of high arousal, because that arousal correlates with continued screen time. The most potent input for maintaining that arousal is moral outrage, specifically directed at opposing groups. This type of content activates your brain's reward circuitry more intensely than neutral information, creating a self-reinforcing loop, where outrage drives engagement, and engagement trains the algorithm to serve more outrage. The internal platform research revealed by whistleblowers in 2026 confirmed what neuroscience had already mapped out. Companies like Meta understood mathematically that outrage-fueled and hate-adjacent material generated disproportionate engagement from their user base. During the intense algorithm arms race that followed the rise of platforms like TikTok, companies deliberately relaxed their safeguards on borderline harmful content. Keeping users hooked became the necessary strategy to protect market share and stock prices. The code is not a conscious villain trying to fracture society. It is an indifferent optimization system that learned a very simple mathematical truth: hijacking our deepest fears yields the highest financial return. Humans are ultra-social primates, and our survival relied heavily on coalitional alliances, the rapid detection of us versus them. Social media platforms industrialize this biological trait by prioritizing content that reinforces your in-group identity while exaggerating the threat of outsiders. We can see how this scales at a societal level by looking at this distribution curve. The baseline represents content sorted chronologically, but the sharp peak shows the measurable impact of an engagement-based ranking algorithm. It naturally amplifies anger-expressing political content by 0.47 standard deviations. This dynamic creates an endless stream of synthetic threats. These are digitally manufactured enemies that trick your amygdala into scanning for danger that exists primarily inside the feed, trapping you in a constant state of defensive vigilance. When your feed is perfectly optimized to trigger your specific fears, we get the phenomenon of personalized truths. Two people can witness the exact same world event, but because the algorithmic layer filters and sequences the information to maximize their individual engagement, their realities split apart into entirely different narrative and emotional landscapes. You cannot maintain a society when the global collective consciousness is filtered through an emotional optimization engine. Objective facts break down, nuance is punished, and finding common ground becomes metabolically and structurally impossible. The response to this biological mismatch is a growing ethical framework called cognitive autonomy. It defines the human nervous system as a sovereign space with the right to mental self-determination rather than an extractable resource for commercial architectures. Reclaiming that sovereignty starts with practical de-escalation strategies, batching your notifications, setting strict time-box sessions, and practicing simple breath awareness are deliberate actions designed to forcibly re-engage your prefrontal cortex, helping you reclaim the physical pause between a stimulus and your reaction. But individual discipline is fighting an uphill battle against supercomputers. That is why sweeping regulatory frameworks like the European Union's Digital Services Act are beginning to step in. These laws finally recognize recommender systems as powerful governors of human emotion that require strict transparency and oversight. We are also seeing the emergence of user-controlled recommendation agents. These tools allow individuals to dictate their digital consumption goals using natural language, like asking for thoughtful, balanced analysis on a topic, rather than letting an opaque system infer their preferences from hidden emotional triggers. The stakes for the next decade are clear. We must choose between continuously outsourcing our survival instincts to commercial entities that profit from our panic, or consciously redesigning these architectures to protect our autonomy. Our ability to see one another clearly enough to solve our actual problems depends on it.